The winning blueprint presents.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday, which means it's time to go over the Week 11 slate of games in the National Football League. And before we get started, did you hear what I just said? It's Week 11. I told you to really take in and enjoy this football season while it lasts, because before you knew it, it was going to be gone. And look, after this week, every team would have had their bye. After this week, every team will have 6 games remaining. There's only 17 weeks in the season, and we're at Week 11, which tells you this season is winding down. So don't take this football that you have left for granted. Now, a lot of you out there, including myself, your team only has 6 games left because you're not going to the postseason. So enjoy your team, enjoy this football while it lasts, because before you know it, it's going to be January, it's going to be February, and then there will be no more football. We'll be talking about the draft, and we'll be talking about teams in the offseason. So enjoy this thing while it lasts, because it's coming to an end here shortly. So let's get into the Week 11 slate of games as they are coming at us fast and furious this week. A lot of key matchups, a lot of games that are going to start to decide who's going to take that step forward into trying to make a run at the postseason, and who's going to take a step back and realize that I'm probably not ready to punch that ticket to the dance. I'm probably not ready to get a seat at that table to go to the dance. So let's start to look at the slate of games and go over these matchups, give you the Lab's winners, and see what we can get accomplished in Week 11 as we started off with a victory. And before we even get to that, I almost forgot. Let's go over this Thursday night football game. The Buffalo Bills hosted the Miami Dolphins at home in a good football game. I was actually very pleased, because this wasn't a game that, it wasn't a lot of points. Let's start right there. There wasn't a lot of points scored in this game, however, and you knew that coming into the game. These weren't two powerhouse offenses, so you expected this to be a kind of a game that was kind of close to the vest, so to speak. Buffalo did get in the red zone 4 times, but they came away with 4 field goals. So they had opportunities to really blow this game open, but they just couldn't execute when they got in the red zone. But this game was spread out over quarters. And what I mean by that is the scoring was spread out. It wasn't a 14-point outburst in the first quarter and then the Buffalo Bills didn't score again. They got, 7 points in the first quarter. They got another 12 in the second quarter. And then Miami scored a touchdown late in the game. And so the points were kind of spread out. We didn't get any points in the third quarter, but this was a very entertaining game. 2 special teams touchdowns. Anytime special teams gets involved, it's always fun to see that happen. You had the punt return by Wk11, and he's slowly earning his keep in Buffalo. Coming into the season, we knew this was his last year on his rookie deal, and he hadn't performed up to the standards that the Bills thought they were getting when they used a first-round draft pick on Wk11. But what he has done on special teams this year is really solidified himself as a viable player in the National Football League on special teams. And hey, I can also give you a little something at the cornerback position as well. He had to start in this game because Aaron Williams, the Bills' second-year corner out of Texas, was injured, and so Wk11 had to start at corner. He did a bang-up job at the cornerback position as well. He just had an all-around good night for the Bills, and he's starting to show them that, look, hey, I deserve another deal, because coming into the season, I thought he wasn't going to get an offer from this Bills team because he hadn't done anything to warrant them to want him back. But after this season he's been stellar in special teams. He might have 3 punt returns. I know he has 2 for sure. I can remember 2 for sure. He might have 3, and I can tell you what, even if he only has 2, there's probably another 2 that he came within a broken tackle or a shoestring tackle of breaking or a guy pushing him out of bounds that had an angle. He's had some big returns for this Buffalo Bills team, and so he's earned his keep on special teams alone, and he's giving them added value at the cornerback position as well. He had a good game. He returned a punt for a touchdown. You look across the field, and Thigpen, the return man for the Dolphins, has had a strong season. It started in the preseason. You saw flashes then. He's starting to make a name for himself in the special teams game. He had a return for a touchdown in this game. The Dolphins' only touchdown in the first half. And the Bills, like I said, they moved the ball. C.J. Spiller was a huge part of this offense in this game. And I told you, I love C.J. Spiller. I love his ability. I love what he brings to the game. I love everything about his game. I told you, I'm enamored with C.J. Spiller's game. And he was on display. I told you, going into this game, he's already made it known. Look, if you need me to be your feature back, I can do it. Fred Jackson didn't play in this game, so you only had Tashard Choice really backing him up. You know, the Bills don't really feel comfortable putting Tashard Choice out there as often as they would, of course, of Fred Jackson. And so he really carried the bulk of the load last night, and he did a phenomenal job again. C.J. Spiller is a guy that can make people miss. It was evident on that one play. Carlos Dansby comes up the middle, untouched. And a beautiful jump cut. Just like that, accompanied by a stiff arm. Just like that, C.J. Spiller's on the outside, picking up 4 yards on a play that he should have lost 3 yards on. And so that's the kind of ability C.J. Spiller brings to the table. And we're not even mentioning the athleticism, the agility, and the flat-out speed to burn. I love C.J. Spiller, and he was on display last night. He was a big part of the reason why the Bills were able to win this football game. They had 19 points at halftime, did not score another point in this game as they went to halftime with a 19-7 lead, had the ball in the red zone 4 times, only was able to come away with 4 field goals. That's a losing recipe normally in the National Football League. You normally aren't able to field goal teams to death and win games. It almost came back to bite them as the Dolphins were able to take the ball down the field in the 4th quarter, get a touchdown, get back into this ball game, cut the deficit to 19-14, and they ended up having the ball 2 more times in this game with a chance to go down the field and take the lead, and both of those possessions ended in Ryan Tannehill interceptions. And again, he's a young rookie quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. You saw the promise. You saw the moxie on the drive previous to those interceptions where he took his team down the field to score the touchdown. But then you saw the rookie mistakes. You saw the wetness behind the ears, so to speak, with Ryan Tannehill in regards to him playing the quarterback position in the National Football League. He still has a long way to go. It was evident on those 2 drives as he made an overthrow that was picked off, a beautiful diving interception by Jarius Byrd, who is a free agent in the offseason. I think the Bills are going to have to do everything in their power to retain his services. And the next possession, he had a pass intercepted by the converted safety turned linebacker, Brian Scott, who sealed the deal with a late game interception. And at that point, the game was over. The Bills were able to survive a late scare by the Miami Dolphins, 14-19, taking their record to 4-6 on the season, dropping the Miami Dolphins to 4-6 on the season. After the Dolphins were able to climb over 500 and have a 4-3 mark on the season, they have proceeded to drop 3 straight and now find themselves clinging to what little life they have left in their playoff aspirations. This game pretty much cemented the fact that the Dolphins are not going to be playoff participants this year. They've had a good season. I think they've exceeded expectations to this point. However, if they don't win another game and finish the season 4-12, then they'll be right where everyone thought they would be. So they have to continue to play solid football. You can't just let off the gas now that you've started the season a lot better than most had you started. Because after watching Hard Knocks, who came away from that show, who came away from that program thinking this was a good Miami Dolphins team? Not many of us. No, I can't think of anyone who thought that this was going to be a 5 or a 7 or an 8-win team. I mean, that team looked like a 3-13 team. It looked like a 4-12 team. But they have the ability right now to win 6, 7, maybe even 8 games. But they have to right this ship and it seems like the offense is regressing again. They're starting to turn it back over, something that they didn't do in weeks 5 through 9. In the last 2 weeks, Ryan Tannehill has went back into his old ways, turning the football over. So we'll see what adjustments they make to try to right the ship. But the Bills get it done at home on Thursday Night Football, take their record to 4-6, drop the Dolphins to 4-6 with a 19-14 victory. So as we get into the Sunday slate of games, we find ourselves in Carolina, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers. The red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, the red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers, winners of their last 4 games, travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers, a team that they beat the very first game of the season, 16-10 at home. And so if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know that you can get it done against this team. You've done it already this season, but this is family business. This is a road trip for the Buccaneers against a team that plays in their division. They know each other very well, and so this is going to be a hard-fought matchup. Even though the Panthers have not played good football for the majority of the season, which is indicated by their 2-7 mark on the season, this is still a game that they feel like they can win because this is family business. And anytime you have family business, you throw everything out the window. Records, all of that stuff. Winning streaks, losing streaks, everything goes out of the window because it's family business. I know you, you know me. We're going to get it on. And so the Panthers have an opportunity to get a win, a rare win this season at home. They've only won 1 game at home. That was back in week 2 against the Saints. They have to try to get off the schneid at home. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers team has been scoring points with the best of them over the last 5 weeks of the season. I mean, you're talking 42 points. You're talking 30. We're talking about 42 on the road against Oakland. You're talking about another 34 on the road against the Vikings. You're talking about another 34 points at home a week ago against San Diego. This team is scoring points. You know, they scored 35 a month ago against Kansas City. This team is scoring points. And so they're a dangerous football team right now. They're getting it on offense. This defense is just doing enough to get it done. They're not, shutting teams down, but this offense is putting so much pressure on opposing offenses and defenses that you gotta keep pace. And with this Buccaneers team putting up 30 plus every game, you can't afford mistakes on offense. You have to almost be flawless, and this defense is doing just enough. And when you're scoring points at the rate that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is, it makes it that much harder for an opposing team to get a victory because you have to keep pace. And sometimes it means abandoning what you want to do on the offensive end. You might want to come in and run the football. But once Tampa Bay jumps on you, 17-3, you have to throw it now. You have to take to the air. Or you might want to slow the game down and have a grinded out pace. And you might be able to do that on offense. But Tampa Bay gets the ball and they score in 4 plays. Now you're back on offense and you're like, see, now we have to kind of change the tempo a little bit. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is really getting it done on offense. I like what they're doing. Meanwhile, the Panthers have issues to iron out on offense. They're not a consistent offense. 1 week, Cam Newton looks solid. The next week, he's struggling. I don't know what happened to the run game in Carolina. It went from a top-notch, top-flight run game to one of the worst run games in the National Football League. They don't run the football well at all. And it's very surprising because they have Cam Newton, a dual-threat quarterback, back there under center. So you would think that he would help out the running game. He would be something that defenses would have to keep a watchful eye on. But that hasn't been the case. They really haven't been using D'Angelo Williams. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they're trying to bring his value down. I don't know what they're trying to do with D'Angelo Williams. But he's not playing a lot. They're not putting him in the game. They're not getting a lot of production out of their running back position. They're choosing to start Jonathan Stewart. He's been solid for the most part, but nothing overwhelming. And this running game used to be double trouble. This used to be, I remember at one point, this was a running back duo that were over 1,000 yards in the same season. I mean, they could get it done, and now they're just been basically reduced to next to nothing. And so they have to figure it out on the offensive end. The Panthers on defense aren't that bad of a football team. They're not that great either, but they're not that bad. They get pressure on the quarterback. They're wishy-washy in stopping the run. Some weeks they do a great job. Other weeks they don't. But they're a solid bunch on defense. They give it up in the passing game. But they can get after your quarterback, and that changes things because you get turnovers sometimes when you can get after opposing teams' quarterbacks. And so this offense for the Panthers has to turn it up. I just can't see them beating this red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, however. It's family business, and so anything goes. And the Panthers could show up, show out, and get a win, but I just don't see it happening. I see Tampa Bay going into Carolina and getting it done 23-13, taking their record to 7-3 on the season. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers would drop to 2-8 on the season. And they desperately need to find a way to start winning ball games. It's starting to turn ugly in Carolina. I think guys are starting to point fingers, and that locker room is not going to be a very conducive work environment if they don't start winning football games very soon. Looking at the next game up on the slate, this was my sole survivor pick of the week, which sees the Cleveland Browns marching into Dallas to take on the Cowboys in a game that I think the Cowboys should dominate. Even though the Browns are coming off of their bye, had 2 weeks to prepare for this Cowboys team, are well rested. Trent Richardson could use the rest. He'd been battered and bruised to start this season off. Maybe he's feeling a lot better now. And so Brandon Weeden hopefully took that time on the bye week to kind of make some adjustments, see the things that he didn't do well, and try to correct those mistakes. And he needs to highlight his strengths and try to improve upon those as well and continue to do the things that made him successful in the first half of the season and help them win 2 ball games. I don't like their chances, however, in this game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a goal dangling right in front of them. It's like the old rabbit with the carrot dangling in front of them. They see a prize right in front of them. Now, we don't expect the Cowboys, at least I don't. I can't speak for everyone else. I don't expect the Cowboys to ultimately catch that carrot. I don't see them making the postseason. Everybody thinks, oh, they've got this soft second half schedule. They can get hot and start winning games. I don't believe that to be the case at all. You look at their second half schedule, and it's not as easy as people think. A lot of these games are against teams with losing records, and so everyone jumps to the conclusion that, hey, they got a soft second half schedule. They can run the table and get to 10-6 or get to 11-5 and win this division. If they win this division, which I don't think is going to occur, but if they do win this division, it won't be because they had a second half schedule that was soft and they were able to run the table. It'll be because the Giants had a monumental collapse. And that's just my way of looking at it. If you look at their schedule, you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. You're talking about the New Orleans Saints. You're talking about the Redskins twice. You're talking about the Eagles again. This is not a soft schedule. The Eagles and this Browns team may be the 2 easiest games they have remaining on this schedule. Now, the Cowboys do have a lot of home games. I will say that. But what does that mean? The Cowboys aren't a strong home team. So that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And if you know anything about football, the Steelers don't mind coming into Dallas and taking over their stadium and making it feel like Heinz Field. They do it all the time. And so this is not an easy slate. The Bengals are dangerous. The Steelers are dangerous. The Saints are dangerous. And if you think the Redskins are not a threat to this Cowboys team, you're fooling yourself. They may ultimately win both of those games, but it will be a dogfight. That's family business. They always come down to the wire, and expect that to be a hard-fought ball game. And so you're looking at 5 of their remaining 7 games as tough ball games. So I don't know where this notion comes from that the Cowboys have an easy road to the playoffs if they can just get hot. I don't see it. They have to go out and win football games against some tough opponents, if you ask me. But in this game, one of those tough opponents don't exist because the Cleveland Browns aren't a good football team right now. They're not getting it done. This Cowboys defense is very, very good. And this Browns offense is very, very bad on the road. And so I expect DeMarcus Ware, who I think in my lifetime, for my money, is the best outside linebacker these eyes have ever seen. Because his ability to get after the quarterback is unmatched in the National Football League. You can have Jared Allen. You can have Tamba Hali, Cameron Wake. You can have whoever you like. Give me DeMarcus Ware. Because I know he can flat out get it done. And he plays the run as well. Just as good as he gets after the passer, he can stop the run. And I just love DeMarcus Ware. You know, he's one of these guys that, even though I'm a Redskins fan, I always have to take a step back and admire what he can do on the football field. He's a unique talent in the National Football League. One of a kind, one of these players that only comes once in a 10, 20-year span. And so he's going to get after this Cleveland Browns team. And I think the Browns have one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League. I've already said that before. But DeMarcus Ware is a special talent. And I think him by himself will cause havoc on Sunday against this Cleveland Browns team. And you know, if any pressure is applied to Brandon Wheaton, he didn't mind turning it over. He didn't mind sharing the football. And so that's something that the Browns will have to deal with in this game. I don't expect Trent Richardson to be able to run on this Dallas Cowboys defense either. And so I expect the Cowboys to be able to take advantage of this Browns offense, force turnovers, give short fields to this Cowboys offense, who will then deposit that into points. And I expect them to be able to win this game 27-13 at home against the Browns, taking their record to 5-5 on the season, finally getting back to 500. Meanwhile, the Browns will find themselves at 2-8 on the season moving forward. Looking at the next matchup on the slate of games, sees the Green Bay Packers, the red-hot Green Bay Packers, who are coming off of a bye, traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions in what is going to be some family business. Now, this Lions team, after finding a way to scratch and claw their way back to 500, lost to the Minnesota Vikings a week ago, and now they're under 500 again. And if you're the Lions, this is the worst team you could have had on the slate coming up after dropping that game last week and trying to get back to 500 again. You don't want to see this Green Bay Packers team because they're playing hot football. They're coming off a bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for you. They're getting healthy. Jordy Nelson was nursing injuries. The one thing we could say about this Packers team before the bye was they weren't sharp on offense because they were missing a lot of pieces. You look at this season, Greg Jennings has been out. He just had groin surgery. We don't know when he'll be back, if he'll be back at all. Jordy Nelson nursing injuries with his leg, whether it's his knee or his ankle. He's been struggling this season to stay healthy. Really, it's been the James Jones and the Randall Cobb show for the Green Bay Packers in terms of receiving. They've been holding up this Packers offense to this point because everyone else has been hurt for the most part. And so if they get Jordy Nelson back after this bye, that'll add another weapon. Need I remind you what the Packers were able to do just a month ago on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans with all their receivers, you know, minus Greg Jennings, what they were able to do against the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football? I mean, we saw an offensive explosion of epic proportions on that night. And so this team can get it done. The Lions haven't been playing the best of defense this season. I expect the Packers to be able to rack up some yardage and some points on this Detroit Lions defense. You look at the Lions, and they're struggling. And a lot of it has to do with their inability to score in the red zone. They're moving the football. You know, you look at Matthew Stafford's numbers. He's piling up yardage. He's just not getting the ball in the end zone. And the big reason why is because they're not getting the football to Calvin Johnson. He's a guy that they need to get involved early. Last week, he had a breakout game. He's starting to get it together. He's been nursing some injuries this season, and so it's been a tough struggle for him this year. But he was able to amass over 200 yards on a career-high 13 grabs last week. But a lot of that came in the second half. The touchdown was in garbage time at the end of the game in the waning moments as the Vikings had already wrapped the game up. They need to get him involved early in the game. Get him going early. And if you're the Lions, you want to see other guys step up. That Nate Burleson injury has been looming large with this Lions team all season long because guys haven't stepped up. You had Titus Young step up for that one game against the Seahawks where they were able to get away with the victory then. And he was over 100 yards and had 2 touchdowns. But no one else has really stepped up for this Lions offense. And so they need guys to produce and help Calvin Johnson along because teams are going to focus in on Calvin Johnson. That's just the way it's going to be. And so they have to have guys step up. They need some help from the running game. This defense is going to have to play better. And the Packers are starting to get it going with the running game as well. And if you remember, before the bye week, James Starks came and gave them a boost. And he started to look a lot like the back we saw 2 years ago when they made that Super Bowl run, where he was a big catalyst for what they were able to do in that postseason run. And so if they can get James Starks going, sprinkle in a little bit of Alex Green, you get Cedric Benson back off of injury here soon. Now you have a crowded backfield that's very productive. Now you have a two-headed monster with a passing attack and a running attack that can get it done for the Packers. They can be a scary team. I see the Packers getting it done in this football game. 27-20 over the Detroit Lions. I just can't see the Lions being able to do enough to beat this Packers team who do still have injuries. And I think they can be had because no Clay Matthews in this game. He injured himself. He won't be back for another week or two. We already know the rookie out of USC, the outside linebacker they drafted in the first round, Nick Perry, is gone for the season. And so guys like Eric Walden are going to have to pick up the slack to help this Packers team get pressure. We'll see if they're able to kind of slow down that passing attack for the Detroit Lions. But I think they're going to do enough on the offensive end of the Packers to win this football game. 27-20, taking their record to 7-3 on the season, dropping the Detroit Lions to 4-6. And now, looking at the Lions, they're going to be at the bottom of this division if they don't find a way to turn this thing around quickly. I mean, you look at this division. Just a year ago, this is surprising because the Lions were a playoff participant. And they were second in this division behind these very Green Bay Packers that they'll be taking on this week. You look at it this season, and now it's an inverse. You got the Bears at the top of the division. The Packers are in heavy pursuit. And right behind them, in their rearview mirror, are the Minnesota Vikings at 6-4. No one saw that coming. They're playing solid football. And then you look at the bottom, and there are the Detroit Lions, surprisingly enough, at 4-6. And the next closest competitor in that division are the Minnesota Vikings. And they've beaten the Detroit Lions twice this season. And so they're not even close to anyone in actuality in this division. So they got to find a way to start getting it done. And it'd be big for them if they could find a way to get it done this week against the Green Bay Packers, but I just don't see it happen. You move on to the next game on the slate, and it sees the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Houston Texans in a little bit of family business. This isn't, however, close family business. This is one of those family business matchups that there's a dominant team and then there's a team that just shows up because they're on the slate twice. And so I expect the Houston Texans to dominate this football game. I don't expect it to be close. It's just a matter of how the Texans elect to dispose of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are they going to step on their throats? I'm talking 14 in the first quarter, 14 in the second quarter, another 3 in the third quarter, and then coast. Or are they going to do what they've done a lot this season? And we've seen them have the propensity to just coast on teams and not put their foot on their throats, not put them away as early as you would like them to. We saw it 2 weeks ago with Buffalo, where they had Buffalo, and they just coasted. And instead of blowing Buffalo out 30-9, they beat them 21-9. And so this is a Houston Texans team that knows, look, we're better than you. We're superior to you. We can do whatever we want. We know you're not a threat to us, so we're not going to exert a lot of energy to dispose of you. We'll do just enough to get rid of you. You won't be close in the game, but if we really wanted to do what we wanted to do with you, use our full power on you, we do what we did to the Ravens on you. But we don't need to do that because you're not a team the caliber of the Ravens. We don't need to send any messages out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. All we need to do is let them know you're not winning this football game, and then we'll coast. And I think that's what they're going to do in this game. The Jacksonville Jaguars aren't a good football team. Again, between them and the Chiefs, they're the two worst teams in the league. You can pick one or the other, whatever makes you feel better. I think they're equally as bad are the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Without Maurice Jones-Drew, this Jacksonville Jaguars team doesn't have a prayer's chance of winning football games, and so they're going to lose this game. It's just a matter of how. Will it be a quick, fast, and painless death, or will it be a slow bleed? That's the only question. Are the Texans going to come out and absolutely massacre them early in this football game and get it over with quickly, or are they going to bleed them out slowly and watch them wilt in this football game? I don't know. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take that latter option and just bleed it out. They're just going to be cut early on in the football game, and the Texans are just going to sit there and watch them bleed out. Texans 30, Jacksonville Jaguars 14. And honestly, I feel like I'm being generous because I don't even think Jacksonville is going to be able to score 14 points. But I think that somehow they'll be able to get 2 field goals and in the end of the game, score a late touchdown and go for 2 and get 14 points. It's family business. What the hell? Why not? So the Jacksonville Jaguars will fall to 1-9 on the season. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans will take the inverse of that and go to 9-1 on the season. Next up is another matchup that pits 2 teams against each other that I don't think is going to be a close game. But again, you just never know. Again, this NFL is a week-to-week league. It's a very fluid league. I say it all the time. So you just never know. But the Arizona Cardinals are coming off of a bye. They've been struggling late. They've lost 5 in a row. And they're taking their services on the road against a mad, and I mean mad, Atlanta Falcons football team. They're very disappointed after losing to a divisional rival a week ago in the New Orleans Saints. And so this Atlanta Falcons team, who was at home, coming off their first defeat of the season, they're looking to eat someone up. They're out for blood. And this Arizona team just showed up at the wrong time. I really feel like the Falcons are going to jump on this Cardinals team and jump on them early, and they're not going to let up. They're going to take their anger and frustration out on this Arizona Cardinals team. But the Cardinals seem to play solid defense. It's not the best defense in the world. It's not overwhelming, but they just seem to keep their team somewhat in the game. And so they might be able to do that in this game. I don't know if Kevin Kolb will be back or not. They've had a bye week. He's been out a few weeks. I would like to think that he'll be back in this football game for them, but that's not something that really is of any concern to me, because it doesn't make a big difference to me in the ball game and the outcome, because whether it's Kevin Kolb or it's John Skelton, they're still behind that porous offensive line that's not going to protect them, that's not going to give them any help in the relief of a running game. And so it doesn't matter who you put back behind center, this Arizona Cardinals offense is going to suffer because they don't have an adequate offensive line. And so I think the Falcons are going to be able to take advantage of that porous offensive line. John Abraham, Corey Bierman, a lot of these guys are going to be able to get pressure on the Arizona Cardinals, force them into errant throws. And we know if you get pressure on the Arizona Cardinals, which most teams have done this season, especially during this 5-game losing streak, they're going to turn the football over. That's what they do. And so I expect the Atlanta Falcons to get pressure, force turnovers. Matt Ryan is steamed right now. And he knows this team will not be gauged on the success in the regular season as much as their success in the postseason. And so while they need to win ball games, they know that their eyes need to be squarely set on finishing this regular season strong and getting home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC. But they got to win in the postseason, and they know that. And so teams like the Arizona Cardinals shouldn't be able to come into the Georgia Dome and get a win. If you're the Falcons, that's the way you have to approach this. We don't need to lose any games at home. We need to make this a home field advantage, so when we get to the postseason, we're ultra confident that anybody coming into the Georgia Dome is looking for trouble, and they won't leave with the W. And so I think the Cardinals will be in trouble. The Falcons will run the football. They'll throw it. They'll play defense. They'll force turnovers. They'll score off those turnovers, and they will beat this Arizona Cardinals team 16-27 in this ball game. And this game won't be as close as the score indicates. I think that the Falcons will dominate this game and win. But we've seen the Falcons play down to the competition this season. And so nothing's a sure thing with this Atlanta Falcons football team. But they're just steaming right now. I think they're very upset and they want to avenge that loss. And I think that it's going to come at the expense of the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Falcons at the end of this game will be 9-1 on the season. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals will continue to be in freefall mode, dropping their 6th straight to go to 4-6 on the season. You look at the next game on the slate, the Cincinnati Bengals are traveling to the Kansas City Chiefs, and what should be one of the least anticipated games of the weekend. Anytime Kansas City is in a game, it's going to be one of the least anticipated games of the week. And being that the Cincinnati Bengals haven't been playing the best of football themselves this year, doesn't make for compelling football. They did, however, show up last week in a game that they had to have. They go to 3-6 on the season. Their season is done for all intents and purposes. But they were able to come out, show that sense of urgency that they needed to have, and they were able to get the win in impressive fashion against the Giants. And so they look to build off of that win against a lifeless, gutless Kansas City Chiefs team. I just don't see this Kansas City Chiefs team being able to get it done. They're not disciplined. You saw the antics that landed them a 15-yard penalty last week on a 3rd down after getting a stop. This team is not disciplined. They don't get it on offense. They play solid defense, but again, with the struggles of the offense, it's hard for this defense to maintain the level of play for 4 quarters. So between the offense turning it over and not sustaining drive and not scoring points, and the defense, self-destructing, getting penalties, doing things to help them lose the game. This Chiefs team is bad. And again, between them and Jacksonville, you take your pick. I think they're equally as bad. Either one of them are the worst team in the league. I don't choose to pick between the two because they're both terrible football teams. You look at the Bengals, they have a chance to climb back to 500 on the season. It's been a roller coaster season for the Cincinnati Bengals because they started the season out with a thumping loss at the hands of the Ravens on the first game of the season. Then they went and won 3 straight to go to 3-1. Then they proceeded to lose 4 straight. Then they won a game last week, and now they have a chance to climb back to 500 at 5-5 on the season. And what better way to do it than play the Kansas City Chiefs? It doesn't matter if you're home. It doesn't matter if you're away. If you get the Kansas City Chiefs, you got a win coming to you today. And so the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this game. It's just a matter of, do they want to get it done early and make sure that the Kansas City Chiefs know that they don't have a shot? Because the one thing you don't want to do in the National Football League is give a garbage team hope. You squash them early. You take the confidence, any bit of confidence that they had coming into the game away early, and you get yourself a W. You let them hang around like the Steelers did last week, and you're in for a dogfight. So if you're the Bengals, you come out and you do what you did last week. You go up top to A.J. Green early and often. You make them pay. You get in the end zone like you did last week. The first 2 possessions, you were able to put touchdowns on the scoreboard last week and get 14 points right away. You do that this week, and you'll cruise to a victory. You come out and you fiddle-faddle around with these Chiefs like you did with the Browns, and you're going to lose just like you did to the Browns on the road. And so the Bengals are going to win this game. I feel like they're the better team. I know they're the better team. They just need to come out and exert their dominance over the weaker Kansas City Chiefs in this football game. I have the Bengals getting it done 23-13 over this Kansas City Chiefs team, taking their record to 5-5 in the season, finally battling their way back to 500. Meanwhile, the Chiefs go to 1-9 on the season. You look at the next game up on the docket. It sees the New York Jets traveling to take on the St. Louis Rams. And this Jets team is horrendous. And it's nothing but controversy going on in New York right now with this Jets football team. And it seems like every time this year we're talking about things off the field or in that locker room with the Jets, never ceases to amaze me how they're able to conjure up some kind of controversy that has nothing to do with the performance of the team on the field, but it just has something to do with a lot of controversy in the locker room. They're a joke. I think that Rex Ryan is really wearing thin on that franchise, and I think that they're making a mistake of epic proportions by continuing to move forward with Mark Sanchez. I don't think he's the answer. I think you're wasting time. Move on. Figure out what your next plan of action is going to be instead of wasting more time with Mark Sanchez. That's their problem. I'm not a Jets fan, so whatever they choose to do, that's on them. You look at the Rams in this game. They're an interesting team because even though the record states that they're 3-5-1, man, do I hate adding that tie at the end, but they're 3-5-1 on the season. This team is a dangerous team, especially when they're at home. I mean, they get after opposing quarterbacks. And I expect them to tear the cover off of this Jets offense. I expect them to harass Mark Sanchez all day long from the start to the finish of this game. I expect them to rack up 6 or 7 sacks in this game. I expect them to force 2 or 3 Mark Sanchez turnovers, whether it be fumbles from strips or picks that he throws because he's under duress. I expect them to tee off on this Jets offense. The Jets aren't a good offense. They're inconsistent in their run game. One week they're running for 200 yards. The next week they're running for 47 yards. You don't know what you're getting out of this Jets offense. I don't think they're going to be able to run on this Rams team. I don't think they're going to be able to pass on this Rams team. I think they're going to struggle in this game. Defensively, they're not a good football team. They're a shell of themselves. They're missing Darrelle Revis. They haven't been able to get pressure on teams since 2009. They don't get it done on defense at all. Rex Ryan, the one thing that he used to be good at, he didn't have the horses to be good at right now. This Rams offense is getting better, and anytime you put Danny Amendola on the field with this Rams offense, they just turn electric. And so I expect them to be able to score on this Jets team. I honestly don't think this is going to be that close of a ballgame. but it's the Rams. And so I have to rein myself in from thinking that they're just going to blow someone out. When's the last time the Rams just blew an opponent out? Even when they dominated the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football, it still wasn't a blowout. And so when's the last time the Rams just put a 30 spot on somebody and beat them 30-10? I don't know. I can't think of the last time. And so while I think this is going to be a game that's not ultimately close, still think that the Rams are going to get it done 24-13 in this game. I think they're going to out-execute the Jets. I think Jeff Fisher is the better coach in this game, and he's going to prove it. And I think this Jets team is going to come in here and look like they did last week, uncompetitive. And this goes beyond anything that's going on in the locker room. I just think this is an organizational mess right now. And it starts at the top with Woody Johnson, works his way down to Tannenbaum, and then goes to Rex Ryan. I think that's just a mess over there. And they got a lot of cleaning up to do, and we'll see how this thing goes for the remainder of the season. But I'm going to sit back and enjoy this because I feel like it's a lot of egos over there that are really getting in the way of any success that this Jets team could be having. And so I'm just going to, take a step back, watch them implode from afar, and get a chuckle out of it. Jets go down 13-24 in this game, drop to 3-7 on the season. Meanwhile, the Rams get another victory and go to 4-5-1 on the season.